Have you ever believed that one small moment could change everything? That a simple question could bridge two worlds that were never meant to meet? If you're enjoying this story of unexpected connection, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more heartfelt stories that remind us how life's most meaningful relationships often begin in the most unexpected ways. The fluorescent lights of the IT department buzzed overhead as Marcus Thompson rubbed his tired eyes. 3 hours of sleep wasn't enough, not when you were juggling a demanding job and a 7-year-old daughter who'd had nightmares again. His desk phone rang, jolting him from his momentary daze. IT department, Marcus speaking. Mr. Thompson? This is Diane from the executive floor. Ms. Winter's computer is completely frozen, and she has a board presentation in 40 minutes. She's requesting immediate assistance. Marcus suppressed a sigh. Victoria Winters, CEO of Horizon Technologies and notorious for her exacting standards. The woman who made senior executives tremble had computer issues like everyone else. Somehow that seemed almost funny. I'll be right up, he said, grabbing his toolkit. The executive floor was another world compared to the basement where IT was housed. Plush carpeting, glass walls, and views of the city that probably cost more per square foot than his entire apartment. Marcus knocked on the door marked Victoria Winters, Chief Executive Officer. Enter, came a clipped voice. She sat behind a massive desk, ramrod straight in a tailored charcoal suit, her dark hair pulled back in a severe bun. Not a single strand out of place. Her expression was tense, eyes fixed on her frozen screen. Mr. Thompson from IT, Marcus said, stepping forward. Victoria Winters barely glanced up. Fix it. Quickly. I have the board waiting on these projections. No please, no thank you. Just what he'd expected from the woman employees called the Ice Queen behind her back. Marcus nodded and got to work, conscious of her watching his every move. Do you mind if I restart your system? He asked. If that's necessary. Her voice was cool, controlled. As the computer rebooted, Marcus noticed a framed photograph on her desk, turned away from visitors and angled so only she could see it. When she stepped away to take a call, he caught a glimpse of it, not intentionally, but it was hard to miss. The photo showed a younger Victoria, maybe in her early 20s. Her hair was loose around her shoulders, and she was laughing, genuinely laughing, with her head thrown back. She looked carefree, joyful, beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with her expensive clothes or perfect posture. It was like looking at an entirely different person. When she returned, she caught him looking at the photograph. Her expression shifted, vulnerability flashing across her face before the mask slipped back into place. I apologize, Marcus said quickly. I didn't mean to pry. She picked up the frame, looking at it with an expression he couldn't read. Then, to his complete surprise, she asked in a voice barely above a whisper, Am I pretty? In the photo, I mean. The question hung in the air between them. It was so unexpected, so human coming from someone who seemed to pride herself on being anything but. Yes, Marcus answered honestly. You look happy there. It's a beautiful photo. Something in her eyes softened momentarily before she set the frame down, turning it away again. The computer, she prompted, her professional tone returning. Almost done. Just retrieving your presentation files now. As he worked, Marcus couldn't help wondering about the woman behind the CEO facade. What had happened to the laughing young woman in that photograph? And why would someone like Victoria Winters care what an IT technician thought about her appearance? There you go, he said finally. Everything's working now. I've recovered all your files and the presentation is ready. Thank you. She actually said it this time, though her eyes remained on the screen. If you have any other issues, just call the help desk, Marcus said, packing up his tools. Wait. Victoria looked up. You're Marcus Thompson, correct? You've been with the company for 5 years? He nodded, surprised she knew anything about him. You have a daughter. Lily, I believe. She's in second grade. Marcus stared at her. How did you know that? I make it my business to know my employees, Mr. Thompson. She paused. I understand you're raising her alone. Yes. He didn't elaborate. The pain of Sarah's death 3 years ago was still raw, and he certainly wasn't going to discuss it with Victoria Winters. She nodded, her expression unreadable. That will be all. Thank you for your assistance. Marcus left, puzzled by the strange encounter. It wasn't until he was back at his desk that he realized Victoria Winters had known his daughter's name. Something about that bothered him all afternoon. That evening, Marcus sat at their small kitchen table helping Lily with her homework. Her dark curls fell across her forehead as she concentrated on her math problems, her tongue poking out slightly, just like her mother used to do. Daddy, is 23 plus 14 37? She asked, looking up with Sarah's eyes. Let's work it out together, he said, pushing aside thoughts of work. After homework came dinner, spaghetti, Lily's favorite, then bath time, story time, and finally, bedtime. It was their routine, the structure that had kept them both sane after Sarah died. As he tucked Lily in, she wrapped her small arms around his neck. I love you to the moon and back, Daddy. I love you to the stars and beyond, Lilipad. It was only after she fell asleep that Marcus allowed himself to collapse on the couch, exhaustion washing over him. The apartment was small but clean, filled with photos of Lily and Sarah. He picked up his favorite, Sarah holding newborn Lily, her face radiant with joy. I'm doing my best, he whispered to the photo. I promise I am. His phone buzzed with an email notification. Probably work. He almost ignored it, but something made him check. From victoria.winters@horizontech.com. Subject, thank you. Mr. Thompson. Thank you again for your assistance today. Your efficiency is appreciated. Regarding our brief conversation, I apologize if my question was inappropriate. The photograph was taken on my 21st birthday, the last truly carefree day I remember. Victoria Winters. CEO, Horizon Technologies. Marcus stared at the email, reading it twice. It was strangely personal coming from someone with a reputation for being completely impersonal. Without overthinking it, he hit reply. Ms. Winters. No apology necessary. We all have those moments we look back on and wonder where that version of ourselves went. For what it's worth, I think both versions are valid, the carefree young woman and the accomplished CEO. Marcus Thompson. IT Department. He hit send before he could reconsider, then immediately regretted it. Had he overstepped? Would she be offended? He was just an IT guy, after all, and she was the CEO. But something about her question had resonated with him. How many times had he looked at photos of himself with Sarah and wondered what happened to that happy, confident man? To his surprise, a reply came almost immediately. Mr. Thompson. Your perspective is refreshing. Most people are too intimidated to speak to me with such candor. I noticed in your file that your daughter attends Westside Elementary. Their after-school program was recently cut due to budget constraints. This must create difficulties for a single parent working full-time. Victoria Winters. Marcus frowned. Why was the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar tech company concerned about his childcare arrangements? He typed a careful response. Ms. Winters. Yes, the program cuts have been challenging. I'm fortunate to have a neighbor who watches Lily until I get home, though it's not ideal. May I ask why you're interested in my personal situation? Marcus. The reply came quickly again. Mr. Thompson. Horizon Technologies has a corporate responsibility program looking to fund educational initiatives. Westside Elementary is being considered. I'm gathering information on the impact of their program cuts. Would you be willing to discuss this further? Perhaps over coffee tomorrow? Your insights would be valuable. Victoria. Marcus stared at his phone. Was Victoria Winters, CEO of Horizon Technologies, asking him to coffee? To discuss his daughter's school? It seemed surreal, but also intriguing. Ms. Winters. I'd be happy to provide any insights that might help. Coffee sounds fine. My lunch break is from 12 to 1. Marcus. The response was immediate and direct. 12:15 at Elysian Café on 7th. I'll have my assistant reserve a table. VW. Marcus set down his phone, bewildered. Tomorrow he was having coffee with the Ice Queen herself. What had he gotten himself into? The Elysian Café was far more upscale than anywhere Marcus normally frequented. He felt underdressed in his IT department uniform of khakis and a button-down shirt, especially when he spotted Victoria Winters at a corner table. Today she wore a deep blue suit that probably cost more than his monthly rent, her hair still in that perfect bun. She looked up as he approached, her expression neutral but not unwelcoming. Mr. Thompson. Thank you for coming. She gestured to the chair across from her. Marcus, please, he said, sitting down. Victoria, then. She closed the leather portfolio in front of her. I've already ordered for myself, but please, get whatever you'd like. After a server took his order, an awkward silence fell between them. Marcus had no idea how to make small talk with someone like Victoria Winters. Your daughter, she said finally. Lily. How is she adjusting to the loss of the after-school program? She misses it, Marcus admitted. It wasn't just childcare, she had friends there, activities she enjoyed. My neighbor Mrs. Castillo is wonderful, but she's in her 70s. She can't exactly take Lily to the park or help with science projects. Victoria nodded, making a note in her portfolio. And how are you managing the work-life balance? Marcus almost laughed. Balance? I'm not sure that exists for single parents. It's more like constant juggling and hoping you don't drop anything important. Something flickered in Victoria's eyes, recognition, perhaps? My mother was a single parent, she said quietly. She worked 3 jobs after my father left. I spent a lot of time alone. It was the most personal thing she'd shared, and Marcus wasn't sure how to respond. That must have been difficult. It was educational, she said, her tone neutral again. It taught me self-reliance. Their coffee arrived, giving Marcus a moment to gather his thoughts. If you don't mind my asking, why the personal interest in Westside Elementary? Surely you have staff who could gather this information. Victoria took a sip of her espresso before answering. Sometimes it's valuable to hear directly from those affected. Reports and statistics don't capture the human element. It made sense, but Marcus sensed there was more to it. And why me specifically? There must be dozens of Horizon employees with children at Westside. Victoria set down her cup, studying him with those intense eyes. You were honest with me yesterday. About the photograph. Most people tell me what they think I want to hear. I'm not sure what that has to do with my daughter's school, Marcus said, confused. Perhaps nothing. Victoria glanced at her watch. I have another meeting shortly. Thank you for your time and insights, Marcus. They've been helpful. She stood, gathering her things with efficient movements. Then she paused, reaching into her portfolio and extracting a business card. My direct line, she said, sliding it across the table. If you think of anything else that might be relevant to our educational initiative. Before Marcus could respond, she was gone, leaving him with a half-finished coffee and more questions than answers. 3 days later, Marcus received an email that left him staring at his computer screen in disbelief. From principal.davis@westsideelementary.edu. Subject, After School Program Reinstated. Dear Parents. We are pleased to announce that Westside Elementary's after-school program will be reinstated effective immediately, with expanded hours and additional enrichment activities. This has been made possible through a generous grant from the Horizon Technologies Foundation, which has committed to funding the program for the next 5 years. Registration forms are attached. The program will begin next Monday. Sincerely, Principal Davis. Marcus immediately knew who was responsible. He pulled out the business card he'd kept in his wallet and dialed the number. Victoria Winters, she answered on the second ring. It was you, Marcus said without preamble. The grant for Westside's after-school program. A pause. The foundation makes many educational grants, Marcus. 3 days after our conversation? That's quite a coincidence. Another pause. Is there a problem with the program? If so, I can have my team address it. No, it's amazing, actually. Lily is ecstatic. Why? He heard her take a breath. Your insights were valuable. The foundation determined Westside was an ideal candidate for our initiative. Victoria, Marcus said softly. Thank you. Truly. This means everything to Lily. To me. You're welcome, she said, her voice softer than he'd ever heard it. I should go. I have a meeting. Of course, Marcus said. But Victoria? The woman in that photograph? I think she's still there. The one who would do something like this. The line was silent for so long that Marcus thought she might have hung up. Perhaps, she finally said. Goodbye, Marcus. 2 weeks passed. The after-school program was everything Lily had hoped for and more. She came home bubbling with stories about science experiments and art projects. Marcus felt a weight lift from his shoulders, knowing his daughter was safe and happy while he finished his workday. He hadn't spoken to Victoria since their phone call, though he'd thought about her often. There was something about her that intrigued him, the contrast between her Ice Queen persona and the glimpses of humanity he'd seen. The woman who kept a photo of her younger, happier self hidden from the world but facing her. The woman who remembered what it was like to be a child of a single parent. Then came the day when his desk phone rang again. IT department, Marcus speaking. Mr. Thompson? This is Diane from the executive floor. Ms. Winters is having issues with her presentation software. She's requesting you specifically. Marcus felt a flutter of something he couldn't name. I'll be right up. When he arrived at Victoria's office, she was standing by the window, looking out at the city. She turned when he entered, and he was struck by how tired she looked. There were shadows under her eyes that makeup couldn't quite conceal. Marcus. Thank you for coming. What seems to be the problem? He asked, moving toward her computer.
The presentation keeps crashing when I try to add video content. She moved to stand beside him, close enough that he could smell her subtle perfume. As he worked, he was acutely aware of her presence. How have you been? He asked, keeping his eyes on the screen. Busy, she said. Then, after a pause, how is Lily enjoying the after-school program? Marcus smiled. She loves it. Yesterday she built a volcano that actually erupted. My kitchen table may never recover. To his surprise, Victoria laughed, a genuine sound that transformed her face. For a moment, she looked like the woman in the photograph. I was terrible at science projects, she admitted. My mother tried to help me build a solar system model once. Mars ended up stuck to the ceiling for months. Marcus chuckled, trying to imagine a young Victoria with planets gone awry. Lily wants to be an astronaut. Or a veterinarian. Or possibly a veterinarian in space. Ambitious, Victoria said, and there was warmth in her voice. There, Marcus said, fixing the final issue. Your presentation should work perfectly now. The problem was in how the video was encoded. Thank you. Victoria hesitated, then added, would you like to get coffee again sometime? To discuss how the program is working for Lily, of course. Marcus looked up at her, seeing uncertainty in her eyes, an expression he'd never expected to see on Victoria Winters' face. I'd like that, he said simply. She nodded, the professional mask sliding back into place. I'll have my assistant contact you to arrange it. Or, Marcus said, feeling suddenly bold, you could just text me. He wrote his number on a post-it and handed it to her. Victoria took it, her fingers brushing his. I could do that. Coffee became a weekly occurrence. They met at the Elysian Café every Thursday during Marcus's lunch break. At first, they discussed the after-school program, but gradually their conversations expanded. Victoria told him about growing up with a mother who worked constantly, about putting herself through college, about clawing her way up in a male-dominated industry. Marcus shared stories about Lily, about his struggles as a single father, and eventually, about Sarah. She had cancer, he explained during their fourth coffee.